I guess on my hair, she look all right. And with that actually sitting there like this creams, and I had to have them, sis. All 5 of them. Here, I just had, we're gonna discontinue it, but I had to pick up their book of shadows, honey. Color grade makes cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. Wow, so serious. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Torrence here, and in today's video, I'm bringing you a tutorial that I probably should have brought y'all a couple years ago, but you all know I buy faster than I use them. But I promise you all I will get this tutorial up last month, got sick and couldn't do it, and what I told myself is we are not pushing this palette back another month. So today I am finally bringing you all the Soft Glam palette, and baby, when I tell you, out of all of the times I have played with this palette, I am shocked by the look I have today because I am wearing certain shades that I have never tested out before. Although this is not a first impressions with this palette, it is a first impressions with this lid shade, and I'm sitting back like, Torrence, you never used her, but you got to be honest. You think she gorgeous and you loving her. So if you all want to know my opinions on this palette, ain't no point in hiding them. I think she's fabulous, but she does have her pros and cons that I will wait to the end of the video to tell you about. But if you would like to know how to achieve this beautiful look, just wait till after swatches. First off, let's get into the packaging. ABH knows how to either keep things extremely simple or go over the top. And because this palette is called Soft Glam, they kept things held back. The only problem I think most people had was, although she's beautiful and soft, this velvet packaging, I'm telling you, she collects stains like no other. So if you have any form of product on your hands, you want to wash them before you pick this palette up. Once inside, you can understand why this palette is so popular and so beautiful. It's a warm neutral color story with a matte black. The thing is, I absolutely love this palette because she has more mattes than shimmers. With hooded lids, I love the fact that we have not only a dark brown, but also a black. And if you're someone who loves your metallics, there are, I believe, 4, if not 5 of them. That very first top left shade, Tempura, is much more like a satin, but you can use her as a matte or a metallic, depending on how you put her on the lids. But baby, we got to get into these swatches because you know ABH brings the pigmentation. Oh, you said ABH wanted all the money and all the press when they dropped this palette? Baby, get into this. 14 beautiful pigmented shades. All of my swatches are always done one time over no primer. And as you can see, this color story is stunning. Not only do we have way more mattes than shimmers, but you also gave me a dark brown and a black. I don't have to choose. I can either use one or the other, or I can use both. And that very first shade, Tempura, she's much more like a satin. So if you want to use her as a matte or a shimmer, you have that option. And I already know that this formula is absolutely stunning. It's just a matter of what kind of look we're going to create today. So grab your brushes, baby, because you know I'm about to grab mine. Alright, you guys, let's go ahead and get things started. As with all tutorials, all tools and products used will always be in the description bar below. So make sure you check there if I forget to mention anything. But baby, we are playing with an icon today. The Soft Glam palette, probably one of the most popular makeup palettes of all time. I've had her since launch, and it's crazy to think that never used her on camera. And before I got up my tutorial for the Makeup by Mario foundation, I wanted to make sure I did this tutorial because just like in my Juvia's Place Radiant foundation, I'll leave that linked above. The palette that I used in that tutorial, I wanted to make sure I already had a lookup for it. And because I know I'm going to want to do something simple with that tutorial, I'm like, we could do something dramatic with it today. And I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do because I'm like, do you be soft, subtle, and play it cool? Or do you go over the top and do something dramatic? And you know what? That's what I think we're going to do because I'm going to play with colors I normally would not reach for. And because most people tend to do because most people tend to do warm tone looks with this palette, we're gonna step outside of our box and we're gonna start off with a large fluffy transition brush, and we're gonna go into this shade here, Dusty Rose. We're gonna use that all over the lid. And because I know ABH has pigmented shadows, we're gonna tap off our excess because we can come back in for more, and we're just gonna get straight into this. And baby, let me tell y'all, I think today I'm recording this on Wednesday the 25th. Tomorrow is my little sister's birthday, so she's been enjoying all week. And when I tell you, I have not played in makeup since I think Sunday, and I just needed some time off, spending time with my family, actually enjoying a day off where I'm not doing anything, no recording, no editing, no uploading. I still have been responding to comments and things like that because I don't want anyone to feel like they're being ignored. But just taking a few days off to just get myself together, get some rest, was truly necessary. Because you see, my hair is done. She flat on this side because I just literally woke up from a nap. So one side may be fluffed up higher than the other, but you know what? We ain't gonna let that stop us. And as you can see, this blended out so beautifully. I was gonna go in with another layer, but I want you all to get a look of what that looks like first before we go in, just so we can see the pigmentation of this color. And so far, so pretty, because you all know I am not the biggest fan of mauves or pinks. It's just, if I'm going to go for a neutral, give me a neutral brown, honey. But this is not coming to play. She is gorgeous. And although I love neutral to cool tone looks, I don't recall ever doing one with this palette. So it's like, what do we have to lose, Torrence? And I think this is what we're going to leave her as. You see, she's nice, she's soft, she's blended. And because she's not a neutral, honestly, on an all matte day, you can pack this straight on the lid and keep her out the dough. But you know I want more than that. So I'll be right back. The shade Dusty Rose was beautiful, but it's not enough to add definition to my hooded lids. So we're going to go in with a slightly smaller blending brush. And this shade here, Rustic, we're going to use that to deepen things up. And after we see how much depth and dimension we have there, I'll decide on the next step. Remember pigmentation levels, honey. Tap off that brush because we can come back in for more. I'm going to start this all the way on the outer end, as low into the crease as we possibly can get it, because I want to be able to build up. I'm trying to remind myself that this palette is called Soft Glam, and everything don't need to be deep and dark, honey. And I think this one color is going to get it for me. Yes, ma'am. Look at the blend on that. I know y'all could tell on camera, just like I can in person, that that blended out beautifully. Right now, I still have that brush low in the crease because I'm trying to make sure I remove all pigment. I'm gonna just slightly raise it in my crease to diffuse those edges and get into her, honey. Like one layer showing out, and just because we here, this is a first impressions tutorial. Well, no, it's not. I've used this palette before. It's my first time doing it on camera. We'll tap that off and just see how she builds. Yes, ma'am. Even more definition. And I'm going to keep this really low. Just slightly raise her up. That'll do it for me. Okay, you guys, I am loving what we have going on so far. It's nice, it's simple. The palette is Soft Glam. So we're just gonna go ahead and cover our lids. I have my NYX glitter adhesive, my Morphe M421 brush, and we want to be nice and careful with this. Although I am trying to pan this glitter adhesive, I am not trying to waste product just to do so. And we're just gonna go ahead and get things going. Because this is going to be a rather soft look, I'm not worried about cutting my crease or anything. I just want as much adhesion from my shimmer shades on my hooded lids as I can possibly get. Coat your lids however you feel comfortable. I just always like getting directly behind the lashes first because I tend to forget to put primer down there. And then I just push and work my brush up. I push it directly into the socket of my crease and just rock back and forth. And then just blend down. Not really worried about a harsh line or any of that. Just really want to make sure we get as much pigment and as little fallout from our shimmers as possible. I tried to do this tutorial with the brush in there. She wanted to keep jumping out, so I just sat her down. But we need to finish off these lids. And I'm sitting here looking at all of these like, Torrence, it is 2 shades you have never tried in this palette. The first one is bronze, because she looks like a yellow gold to me, and yellow gold just don't do it for me. The other one is this shade here, Sultry, right next to it. And because I've never used either one, we're not even gonna go for bronze. We're gonna skip straight over it and go to Sultry and put that over the entire lid. Okay, honey, I think I might have dipped my brush a little too hard because I got a ton of product, but because she shimmer, we ain't about to tap her off. We just gonna have to deal with fallout if we get any. But we're gonna take this and we just gonna pack this across the entire lid, sis. Like, we're just gonna go ahead, press this down. Okay, okay. Honestly, she's not as dark as I thought she was gonna be. In the pan, I did not expect those reflex to come through, but she's looking beautiful. I'm debating on whether I want to go in with a second layer because I'm just trying to check and make sure it can cover the entire lid. I have really large eyes, and most times I have to dip twice just to get my lids covered. But you all just saw right there, I did the entire lid. There are no areas that have been missed, but to see if she builds, I'm gonna go in and check. And yes, ma'am. I just put some more right here on the center, and to me, she easily beams a lot stronger than the outer ends. We're gonna go ahead, buff her out, cross all of that, and keep her going, because baby, that's beautiful. No lie, it's taking everything in me not to be like, Taurus, deepen up your outer V, add an extra shade on the lid. She's supposed to be soft glam. Leave it here. So what I'm gonna do is cut away, finish off the face, and when I come back, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna finish off the lower lash line. All right, you guys, we are back, and I must admit, today's makeup went by rather fast. I was sitting back like, you know what? Don't do too much, just get everything on, do the basics, get out the way, and tell everybody about it. So, if I forget to mention anything, check out the description bar below, but I've been playing with a few items, so let's get into it. First off, what do we want to go to? Mascara. I switched over because the last sample I was using was a MAC sample. Finally used her up, so now I am using the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Push-Up Lashes. Let me tell you something. First off, this is just a sample, but if this thing does not dry out before I finish her up, like I can continue to use the product and it doesn't change up the texture for worse, I'm gonna have to get a full size of this, because baby, at first I was looking at this brush like, she got a different shape on her. I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. I wanna see if you all can get a close-up view of that. I wanna rotate this bad boy. And I was sitting back like, honey, I don't know how that's gonna work, but when I tell you, she finds the most minute of lashes, she separates, she builds, she blends. The thing is, I would not recommend this as your first mascara because you are gonna have to, learn how to move your fingers, get that brush in and out on certain areas. But if you are somebody like me who takes the time to perfect their lashes when you're wearing mascara, to find each and every single one, I think this may be a good one. So we're gonna continue to use her till she's gone, but I'm loving her. What else do we have? For blush, I figured since we're already playing with ABH, we might as well pull out as many ABH products as we can. So for blush, I'm not even sure if they still sell these. This is their blush trios. I had these in my freelance kit, it had all 5 palettes, and this one is in Cocktail Party. Now, I knew I wanted to keep it simple, but I'm like, we playing around, have some fun. So first, I went in with 2 layers of this first shade here called Babe. I knew this would be too light, but I wanted to play around. So after that, I saw just the tiniest hint of pink. I'm like, bring a little more color by adding the tiniest bit of this middle shade here called Scorching. It was just enough for me to see that pink on my cheek and then keep her moving. So I'm like, you know what? Let's go. For a highlighter, took it all the way back. Do you all remember the ABH Glow Kits? I ended up depotting and giving away 3 of my 4 shades because I figured they just would never suit my skin tone. And every time I went into my palette, I reached for this one shade here called Dripping in Gold. She was absolutely beautiful. And the thing is, one day I accidentally dropped her, had to repress her. And she used to have a beautiful decal on the top because right before I pressed her, I put, I believe, like a napkin or a paper towel or something over it, so it smashed that design into it. She was gorgeous, but she's single now. Still have her here. Never gonna get rid of her because she's my shade. Sometimes they bring these palettes back, but I don't think they bring them all back. But Dripping in Gold is a favorite, and baby, look at the glow on her. Just enough for you to be known, baby. We wearing highlighter, and if we want to take it there, we can, but we being nice for y'all today because we wearing soft glam. What else do we have going? For lips, I do not have any ABH lip liners, so I'm like, okay, take it back. What type of lip liner would you have worn with this old school ABH lipstick? MAC Chestnut. Cork for me was always nice for those subtle days, but I like a really pale nude lip, and I wouldn't necessarily call this a pale nude, but she lighter than me. So after I put on my chestnut liner from MAC, I went in with the ABH matte lipstick. Not even sure if they still sell this formula, but this is in the shade Kiss. She came in a 4-piece single set because I'm like, you never gonna go through a full lipstick. Never even went through half of any of these samples. And this is what the shade Kiss looks like. Just nice and beautiful, honey. You see, got her lined, got her going, and I was like, should you put on a gloss on top of that? I've been rocking a lot of glosses, so I figured we would skip that gloss today. Anything else? Oh, last thing. I think I'm going to be able to give this away because to me she looks just a little too natural, and although I can tell I'm wearing something, which sort of makes me want to keep her, I'm going to see. But this is the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in the shade 606 Whenever Walnut. Now, the beautiful thing about these are they are supposed to be just face safe. You can use them on the eyes, which is very rare because most products that can be used on the lips are usually not eye safe. So to know they came out with a line of pencils that can just be used on the face, period, beautiful. The thing is, I can honestly tell I have something on my liner, and now that I'm pulling it down like that, it's like I see her, but I don't know if it's just because this is a sample, I don't know, but she was not the absolute easiest to apply to the liner. And I think because I have this also in a red shade, I want to test out that red one first to see if it's just because I was in the gig and moving too fast, or if it was just something that's just not the smoothest to apply to the eyes. So if I test out the red shade and like that one as well, then I'll keep them both. If not, more than likely I'll get rid of them both. But this to me just looks like the most natural liner on my complexion. And I would normally go for something a little more darker just so you can see it there. But because this is a soft glam day, she good so far. And I'm looking around like, is there anything else I forgot? And if I forgot anything, it'll be in the description bar below. But baby, we need to finish off this lower lash line. Because I want to keep things simple and cohesive, we're going to use the same shades on the lower lash line that we used on the upper crease. So we're going to start off with a large pencil brush in this shade here, Dusty Rose. Then we're going to go in with a smaller pencil brush in this shade here, Rustic, just to add more depth and dimension. Remember to tap off our excess, baby. The lower lash line, we do not want anything to get messed up. I'm going to start on the outer end and just build my way toward the center. This color is nice and beautiful. And I don't think I have to worry about fallout because I did tap my brush off. And I can see this color here on this first layer, but I think I'm going to have to do a second layer for you all to see here. Remember, you want to keep this nice and soft. I find that the bottom half builds up a lot faster because usually you have a brighter concealer there. And we do not want this to look like we got punched. Connect it in the front. And just make sure there's no gap right here on the outer end. And we good to go. Now I'm going to take my pencil brush and dip into this shade Rustic and make sure we tap her off. I do not want my lower lash line to be darker than the top, so we're going to be careful. Start on the outer end and work our way slowly. Slowly. Ooh, baby. And I think we're only going to do one layer of this. If we was on the top, we would do two. But just because we only need enough definition to be noticeable, I'm good enough with that. Yeah, that's dark enough to me. All right, you guys. My favorite part of eyeshadow is highlighting my inner corners and my brows with a very vivid shimmery shade. But I'm trying to remind myself, soft glam. Keep it laid back, keep it subtle. So we're gonna go into a matte shade. We're gonna go into this shade here, Tempura, and I'm gonna first do the inner corner where I want the most color, then take and diffuse the rest of it underneath the brows. I don't know why I came to play. Like, baby, why did I pick up this much product? I knew I only had to dip once, but my fingers still went twice. So we just gonna go ahead and go for it, cause baby, this is about to be popping. Let's get her. I know y'all see that. I accidentally put that much down, but we ain't gonna never be scared. We just gonna get it on both sides. And after we've lost most of that product, then we can go ahead and hit those brows. I'm gonna have to go back and clean that up a little. Ooh. Baby, y'all see that on camera. Ooh. Baby, Tempura said play with somebody else. I got pigmentation and blendability. Okay, now we're just gonna go back in and soften this up a little bit. Ooh, wee. Okay, like that's just like boom, pow. I'm like, oh man, a lot of color, but we couldn't have it packed on like that. All right, you guys, this is all we're gonna do for the face, but ain't no point in doing all this work unless we're gonna lock it in. So grab your setting sprays, cause you know I'm about to grab mine. And you know the routine, Fix Plus to give us a glowy do. All-nighter, so things will last all day. Cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. I'm gonna give this a few more moments to try and I'll be back to give you all my final thoughts. And here's the final look. I want to go ahead and give you all a full face view of things before I give you all my final thoughts. And I'm here to tell you all, of course this palette is fabulous. Like, come on now. Like, get into her. Do you see this look? Do you see the blend? Like, I understand my tutorial was late. I'm trying to see if I could tell when this palette came out. Do it have a date or anything on it? No. But I'll make sure I leave that in the description bar. But baby, this palette, which I get when it first launched, is several years old. And when I tell you, she still performs. Like, get into her. The color story, just by looking at her from a distance, says warm neutral. The beautiful part about it though is, as you can see, you don't have to always do a completely warm look. This look to me is coming off rather neutral to cool, but she's absolutely fabulous. And the main two reasons why I chose this particular look today was, one, it helped me step out of my comfort zone, because every time I've used this palette, it was strictly for a warm toned look. I'm not the biggest fan of pinks, so I never use those. And although Dusty Rose to me, she looks much more mauve, I'm somebody who, if I'm going purple, I want a vivid amethyst jewel toned purple. The little soft mauves, nice neutrally, they cute and all, but if I'm gonna play in my makeup, I'm a colorful person. I want to play in my makeup or go browns with my neutral. The thing is, I'm also somebody who gives props where props are due, and the second reason why I chose to use this particular look when I did this palette was because I wanted to remind people, although she's called soft glam, you can take her there. For me and my complexion, I feel as if the shades I used today were right there in the middle. When I look at the matte shades in this palette, I see shades that are lighter and darker than the ones I used today. For my crease, I went in with Dusty Rose and Rustic, but if I wanted to go lighter, you have things like Orange Soda and Burnt Orange. If I wanted to go darker, you have things like Cypress Umber and Mulberry and Noir, a matte black, my favorites. But if, like today, I used her for inner corner, but you wanted to do a neutral all matte lid, you have shades like Tempura. You have shades like Sienna. So if you just truly wanted to go in, out, one color, you could do that. If you wanted to do multiple colors like matte and shimmer like I did today, it offers you that. But the absolute best part about this palette, is I truly believe she's inclusive. I don't care how light your complexion is. I don't care how deep it is. I've seen this palette used on some of every skin tone out there. If you just search ABH Soft Glam on Google, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, just look her up, baby, and I promise you, different ethnicities, different skin textures, because I'm somebody who technically has oily skin, but right now with my acne medication, sometimes I do get some dry patches, so I do have to treat my skin like combination. But even like today, even though I'm having no issues, on those days when I'm having dry patches on my lid, I can still use this palette because the formula is stunning. But in my opinion, I tell everybody, unless you created a palette yourself, more than likely you're not going to consider her perfect. You're going to find pros and cons about this palette. And to me, the pros truly do outweigh the cons. No doubt about it. If you were to ask me, do I recommend this palette? Absolutely, to any and everyone. The two things you are going to have to worry about though, you can't overlook her, is the fact that one, this soft matte packaging will get extremely dirty extremely fast. You accidentally get some kick up in here and you think you're not just gonna pay attention to her, you may just blow her away, or you get that on your hands. Or let's say you're somebody like me who likes to do your foundation by pumping it on the back of your hands, rubbing it with your finger, and you forget and you pick this bad boy up, you may never get her clean again. Over 99% of these palettes that are sold in the world look like they'd have been in a food fight. They got lipstick stains, eyeshadow stains, foundation stains, and chances are once they get there, they are never coming off. Another thing about this palette is, although the formula is beautiful, I'm talking about pigmentation, it builds, it blends, it lasts. The one thing I can tell you is, it's a lot of soft formulas in the world. But you accidentally drop this palette, even though I'm sitting down right now, if this thing was to fall off this table and hit this floor, you might as well buy you a new palette. Because when I tell you, ABH makes extremely soft shadows. The mattes and the shimmers are extremely soft. Whether you are putting your brush in there to do your eyeshadow, whether you're putting your finger in there to get swatches, these things will crumble and break on you very easily. So please be careful. If you do not want to have this sitting on the table when your 2-year-old walking past, because if he bump into it, snatch it, knock it down, chances are you're going to be buying a new one. So I'm going to end this video here because honestly, the only bad thing I think I can say about this palette, because I believe the price is beautiful, I believe the color range is beautiful, it comes with a free brush. The only thing I don't like is the fact that there ain't no colorful shades in here. But with a palette called Soft Glam, where was we gonna bring a vivid green or a vivid purple to make me happy into a Soft Glam palette? Like, no ma'am, they can't do that. So I'm gonna put her up because I think she's absolutely beautiful. I'm also gonna make sure that I get this video edited today, because right now, what time is it? She's Wednesday, about 6:15, so hopefully, well, I know I can get her done tonight, but what I'm hoping I can do is tomorrow get that tutorial up for this foundation, because I am wearing her again today. I think I finally have my final thoughts on her, but I did not want to do a tutorial with her before I got this palette up. So we're going to end this tutorial here. If you all truly did like this look, then please give this video a thumbs up. Also leave me a comment down below if you have this palette. I know most of you may have it because she is a classic. I'm not sure if it's their best-selling palette. If it's not, I think the Modern Renaissance may have it beat. I personally say screw Modern Renaissance because she ain't nothing but oranges and reds. And this, at least you're going to give me a couple pinks and a black, baby black. I love those. So, I know this palette is going to rank extremely high when I do my monthly rankings video. Not sure exactly where, but I have to remind myself every time. Torrence, stop talking, because you will keep going, ranting about nothing, and this video is over. So, with nothing else, I hope you all remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye, YouTube.